Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. I just thought I would make a quick video about some of my favorite upgrades. As you know, for anybody that's been, watching my channel for some time now, at least from 2022 to now, I've really been into upgrades. And I've found, and I've said this before, I've found upgrading to be really a lot of fun. And as I upgrade my collection and as I'm starting to go through my collection, I'm starting to see how much more powerful it's become because of upgrades. For a while, I was content with having a certain grade, and I think a lot of us feel that way. But then, you start to reevaluate some things. You try to be open-minded about certain things, and when you do that, these things involve upgrading, and that's what I've been doing. I haven't added too many new books to my collection, and I think I've said in another video, there's probably like a couple handfuls of new books that I really want, and it's going to take some time to get. But in the meantime, I've been finding a lot of really cool upgrades for books that I've had in my collection for a number of years. So I just want to go through, I picked out a couple handfuls of books, and they're slabbed. This video is only going to show slabs, and I'll talk to you about that, why I'm only showing slabs. But just a number of books that over the last probably 6-8 months that I've managed to upgrade. Now I'm not going to show the Incredible Hulk 181 or the Giant Size one, because I've talked about those two books, I think, a lot. But let's spend a little time with some of these, okay? First up, this is a book that I've upgraded quite a few times over the years. My first copy, I think, was like a 2.5 raw, and then I upgraded to a 4.5, and then I upgraded to a 5, a raw 5, and then I upgraded to this 5.5. So you see, well, there hasn't been that much of an upgrade, from a 5 to a 5.5, but I beg to differ. I think with a press, this book would be 6.0 because it's an absolutely gorgeous book. It really is. As I'm looking at it right now, I know if I decided to, which I'm probably not going to, but if I decided to, if I wanted to have this cracked open and pressed, this would come back as 6.0, no question. But it's really such a nice copy, I think, because of those reasons. And this is one of my favorite covers, one of the most famous covers in EC for me, or at least highly recognizable covers for me in EC. I was always fascinated with this cover. When I first started collecting the reprints about 30 years ago, I remember there was a reprint, the magazine size reprint, Vault of Horror #1 with this cover. And I know this story, the cover story is Till Death, which was season 2 of the HBO show. So I was always fascinated with this cover. I liked it, and it's a really good cover too. But my 5.5 raw, my 5.0 raw copy, it was okay. It wasn't as clean as that one, and I've always been on a mission to get a better copy of that particular book, Vault of Horror 28. Let's take a look at another EC, and then we'll get to some Marvel stuff, and we'll jump back and forth, back and forth. This is one hell of an upgrade. I originally purchased my first copy of this Vault of Horror book, which is Vault of Horror 19. I'll show you in a moment. I originally purchased my first copy of this book back in June of 2022, and it was a 5.0 copy, and I was content with that. But then I saw an opportunity to get something that was slightly higher, and I went for it. And I had it graded. First I had it pressed, and then I had it graded, and it came back as 7.0, Vault of Horror, like I said, 19. This is a book, again, when I started collecting books, I was just collecting the reprints some 33 years ago, or almost 33 years ago now. The Gladstone reprints, not the Gemstone, the Gladstone reprints of Vault of Horror. They had the double-size issues where they had Vault of Horror, Haunt of Fear, Tales from the Crypt. They would combine it with a crime suspense stories or a weird science or whatever. I think number 5 of that series, Vault of Horror number 5. You could correct me if I'm wrong in the comments for those that have it. They had this cover, and it was blue. They had the background as blue. I'm colorblind, so I have a real trouble telling what color this is. It looks kind of pinkish to me, but that's just me. But I've always known about this cover, but it hasn't been since recent years I started to appreciate it more. It's a really cool cover, really cool zombie cover. But yeah, got a 7.0. It's really, really wonderful. Really wonderful. You know, before I get to the next book, I'll address this now. You know, with the X-Men, I'm starting to upgrade my X-Men books again. And, you know, X-Men, along with the ECs that I've been showing you, a grade that I felt comfortable with was 4.0. And now I'm starting to go back to those 4.0s and trying to upgrade them to 5.5s and 6s when I can and where I can. Because some of them are pretty expensive and some are hard to find. But again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Upgrading is like a ladder. You know, you walk up a step, you walk up a couple of steps, but you keep moving up toward that goal, whatever that goal is. And the goal, I would think, in this hobby is to get, you know, better copies. You know, when you can afford them or when you're able to get them. I think that's the goal, or one of the goals. Let's go to Marvel now. I got a few Marvel books before we go back to EC. This is an upgrade. I originally purchased a 5.0 copy, which was a white pager. This is an off-white page, so the page quality is not as good, but the grade is a hell of a lot better. I originally had a 5.0 copy of this book, and I purchased it in, I believe, at the New York Comic Con in 2018. I believe it was 2018. I purchased it, and I said, you know, yeah, I'm a big fan of this character. I should probably have this book in my collection. It was Conan #1, 5.0 white pager. About 7 months ago, I sold it, and I said to myself, you know, I didn't sell it because I no longer wanted Conan #1 in my collection. I said, you know, let me get rid of this. I know I could probably do better. I know I will upgrade it again. And I did a few months ago. Like I said, it's not, the page quality is not as good as the 5.0. This is an off-white page. But the grade is better. The look of the book is better. 8.0 Conan the Barbarian #1. Beautiful. 8.0, you know, I'm good with that. But if an 8.5 or a 9.0 came along that I thought was a good price, I'd get it. Again, with that whole ladder analogy I used a few moments ago, I'd get it. But I'm very, very pleased with an 8.0. Going from a 5 to an 8.0, you know, like I was showing in the Vault of Horror, I went from a raw 5.0 to a 5.5. So that's not much of an upgrade. An upgrade for many reasons, other than the half a point bump, but still an upgrade. Well, going from a 5 to an 8, that's an upgrade. That's a nice upgrade. And that's an example. Not a super expensive book though, right? You know, it's not like some of the other books that, you know, you might upgrade that are super expensive. Not really that expensive. Okay, this was in a recent haul. I've had several copies of this book for over 30 years. It's X-Men #3. My original copy was a raw 3.5. Then I upgraded a few years ago to a 5.0. And then I was lucky to upgrade again to a nice 6.5. I have a 6.5 #2. So this goes very nice with that 6.5. Will I be able to upgrade my 4.0 #4 to a 6.5? I don't know. #4 is a little more sought out than numbers 2 and 3, right? A little more expensive, but we'll see what happens. But I am probably going to upgrade that and many others in the single-digit X-Men books. And this was one of them that I wanted. So I got rid of the other 2 copies, and I wound up getting this. It was wonderful. Really, really, really nice. Okay. This one I haven't shown yet, and I'm going to put it into the next comic book haul in another month or 2. All right? So it's a little sneak preview of this book. This was another book that I had a copy for over 30 years or almost 30 years, and I said, you know what? The price of this book had gone down. So now's the perfect time to get this book at a decent grade. So here we go. The first appearance of the Silver Age Vision, you know, the Vision that we all know. Not that no one really knows the Golden Age Vision, but the Vision that's from the films and the TV show, to a nice 7.5. Yeah, I haven't showed this one yet. This was one of the books that was coming in the mail during the last haul video. And I'll put this in the other haul just for the sake of putting it in the haul. But a little sneak preview of a Another upgrade. Nice 7.5. Nice copy. Really nice copy. Yeah. I remember the original one I had. Let me give you a little story about that, because I'm trying to add a couple stories. The original Avengers 57, the one I had from over 30 years ago, I think I got that for like $20 back then, and it was a 5.0. And it was just one of those things that I thought the cover was cool, and I bought it. And I didn't even realize, because I wasn't an Avenger collector. Back then I was more of an X-Men and Spider-Man collector. So I knew who Vision was, but I really didn't know anything about when he made his first appearance or remember when he made his first appearance. I just bought it because it was an old book and it looked cool. And I left it out. It wasn't even in a bag for the longest time. I had a bookshelf in my room. I had 2 bookshelves. And one bookshelf was used the most because it was, I don't know, for whatever reason. The other bookshelf was close to the window, which was never used. It was collecting dust, all that stuff. I kept that book out, not even in a bag, for a long time, and then I put it in a drawer, the drawer that was attached to the bookshelf, without a bag for the longest time. Never took any damage, but then one day I was going through my stuff and I saw it in the drawer. And I was like, oh wow, I forgot about this. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, is this the first appearance of Vision? And then, yeah, found out it was. So that's a little side story about that original copy I had. Now, sometimes people ask, well, you sold your original copy, like I sold my original copy of X-Men 3 and the Vision, like I just talked about, Wolverine, the Incredible Hulk 181, and Giant Size X-Men 1, and the list goes on. And I said, don't you miss them? No, I don't. I thought I would, but I don't. I'm happy, I remember collecting back then, and even a few years after I was done collecting, and before I actually got back into collecting, and I would say to myself, one day I'd like to get back into collecting, and I'd like to get upgraded books. And so it was back then I decided that, I don't really need to keep the older copies. Some people do because they like the nostalgia and all that stuff, and I totally understand that. But not me. I found that, if I could get a decent copy and I could get a decent amount for the copy that I have to put toward a better copy, I'm doing that. And it doesn't bother me one bit. So I'll talk about this next book, and then I'll talk about why I'm only showing slabs, because I said I would address that in the beginning of the video. Here's another EC, and this is the last EC for this video. This is an upgrade, believe it or not, a 3.5 upgrade, a Vault of Horror number 12. Now, if anybody that knows anything about this book, it's hard to get. It's Vault of Horror number 1, even though it says 12. The title used to be called War Against Crime. It was War Against Crime 10, where the Vault Keeper first showed up. War Against Crime 11, the first EC horror title. And then they said, you know what, we're just going to call it the Vault of Horror, because they introduced the Vault Keeper and the Vault of Horror in number 10. And we're just going to change the title to Vault of Horror with number 12. And that's what they did, and that's why it's number 12. But it's really Vault of Horror number 1. I had a 2.5 copy, right? And, 2.5 is low grade. There are many defects with that copy, as you would expect, because it's a 2.5. So I only went up to a 3.5. The reason why I only went up to a 3.5 is because, A, I thought it was a good price, and B, I didn't see a 4.0. So that's why I got this one. But this one, despite being a 3.5, it's a hell of a lot better than that 2.5 I have. I mean, obviously it's a 2.5, but sometimes there are 2.5s and then there are 2.5s, just as there are 4.0s and there are 4.0s. The 2.5 wasn't anywhere near as nice looking as this. I mean, it was a true 2.5. This 3.5, if it didn't have maybe a couple, like it has like a little, you see that? Little stain, a couple tears, it might have been a 4.0, because the rest of it's pretty sound inside and out. No detached cover, no rust on the staples. The front cover looks really good. It's a nice copy. It's a nice low grade copy. Would have been a little higher if it didn't have some of those other little things on the back. Back cover is just as important as the front cover, everybody. I'm pretty sure you know that. But yeah. This was a book, I didn't put it on my 2023 want list, but I thought about doing it, Vault of Horror 12. The reason why I didn't, I just put EC books, is because it's kind of hard to find Vault of Horror 12. And when you find it, it's hard to pay for. It's not cheap. you know. But I found a price that I liked, and it was not that far off from what I sold my 2.5 for, so it all worked out in the end. And again, like I said in other videos, if I ever came across a 4.0 or a 4.5, and with that whole mentality I was talking about, selling the under copy to help with the newer copy, like I did with the X-Men and the Avengers, like I was just saying, it's a hell of a lot easier selling a 3.5 to get to a 4.5 than a 2.5 to get to a 4.5 financially. So you could always keep that in mind. Now, before I show the final 3 books for this video, and thank you for sticking around for 15 minutes of me rambling on and on about books that I've showed you before, why am I only getting slabs? Well, I mean, there are times when, and I said this in a previous video, not the previous video, but a previous video. When it comes to upgrading, I prefer to get them slabbed. Although I will buy books that are raw too, if I trust the seller. Like my friend Mike, I trust him. So if he had a raw copy of like Vault of Horror 12 that he says is a 4.5, I would trust him that it's a 4.5 and no restoration. On eBay, not that the eBay sellers or any other seller is trying to be sinister and trying to trick you, although there are those like that, I prefer to have the slab because I want to make sure that it meets all my criteria of no restoration. I mean, yes, I do have eyes, but sometimes they don't work as well, or I'm not as knowledgeable about certain things when it comes to restoration. Even I miss things. So that's why I just prefer to have it in a slab, and for all the reasons I just mentioned about the 3.5 going to a 4.5. I'm trying to sell it. It's much easier for me to sell this 3.5 than a raw 3.5, because the person that may be buying a raw 3.5 for such an expensive price as Vault of Horror 12 demands, they may be hesitant. Well, how do you know no restorations on it? How do you know this and that, that and this? Once they see it's in the slab, they feel a little bit better knowing that, okay, I'm spending money on this book and I can at least believe that there's no restoration on it. That's just the way I look at it. I know some people like to have them all raw. No, not me. Not me. Okay, last 3 books. This was a nice upgrade too. I had a 6.0 copy of this. I bought it, I think, about 29 years ago. And I saw this nice 8.5. And I said, damn, this is a really nice looking 8.5. And I don't understand why it's not a 9. But again, I'm not I'm not an expert grader. But I'm very happy with this. Amazing Spider-Man 122. I've always preferred this book over the 121. I upgraded that one too to a 7.0. I had a 5.0 and I upgraded it to a 7.0. I didn't want to take it out for this video. I should have, but I wanted to focus on this one because this one has more of a story. I remember when the original copy of this came to the house. Came on a Saturday morning back in 1993. I was expecting it to come, and I heard the mailman knock on the door, and I said, I bet you it's my 122. And it sure was, from A Million Comics. And I opened it up, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I always wanted the death of the Green Goblin. I preferred that over the death of Gwen Stacy. I know a lot of people prefer the 121 over the 122, but not me. This one's more special to me than the 121. I never cared for Gwen Stacy. I know some people felt bad that Spider-Man's girlfriend was killed, so it might have touched them a little bit more emotionally. I was always a Mary Jane fan, so I couldn't care less about Gwen Stacy. But I did like the Green Goblin. And I've always found 121, even though I've just said all the things about 121, I found 122 very interesting. And it's nice to go from a 6.0 to an 8.5. You know, that's a nice upgrade. You know, here's another one. 2 more that I upgraded. I only went up a full point, not a half a point, a full point, which is really, really cool. Here we have Fantastic Four, number 48 at a 6.5. Really cool. I had a 5.5. I originally bought it raw. I had it pressed. It came back a 5.5, and it had some rust in the staples. I don't remember it when I first bought it years earlier. I don't remember it having rust on the staples, on the inside at least. And when my friend Mike was telling me he was pressing it, and he says, you know, there's rust on the staples? I'm like, really? Because he knows I don't like to collect rusty staples. I was like, are you sure? He says, yeah. And I was like, how can that be? It completely slipped my mind. Now, I had bought it a few years earlier. I don't know. I remember always disliking rusted staples, or at least to the point where it was in that book where it migrated to the paper. But I sold the 5.5, and I purchased this one. And that was one of the books that I wanted to upgrade, and I managed to do so. So it's nice 6.5 copy. Who knows? Maybe one day I might upgrade it again. And the last book, this is the third copy I've owned of this. And it's not like a super duper book like Saving the Best for Last. It's just a pretty cool book. It has white pages though, so that's pretty cool. Amazing Spider-Man number 50. I had a 5.5 copy. My original copy I purchased, again, 30 years ago. And that was probably like a 3. And it was a pretty good look at 3. It had some tape on the side over here. And there was probably, the tape was trying to fix a spine split. But other than that, the book was pretty good. It needed a press. You know, there was these, it had some creases, not color breaking creases, but it had some creases along some vertical creases along the spine. Not a, it wasn't a, what do you call that when the people used to order and it used to come in the mail, subscription issue. It wasn't anything like that. It was just something else. I don't know what it was. But it needed a press and it had that defect I mentioned. I gave it a 3.0, maybe a 3.5. So I sold it and I got a 5.5 copy, which I thought was pretty cool. It was a nice book, nice looking 5.5. But then I saw this 6.5 and it's a white pager. So I said, you know, why not? Let's upgrade it a full point and then you get some white pages. I think that's pretty cool, right? I mean, I'm not a white page per se collector, although it would be nice to get them. I do get off-white to white or just off-white. I do have a number of cream to off-white. I typically try to stay away from that though, not because it's just horrible or anything like that. It's just, you know, well, if I'm going to upgrade, I'm going to try to get something a little nicer than cream, you know. But yeah, wound up getting a white pager 6.5. So pretty cool, right? So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed some of the books. Again, these are not books that except for the Avengers 57. I've showed these books before, but I just think it was pretty cool to pull them out again, out of their boxes or out of wherever I had them, and just talk a little bit more about them. So, as I end this video, I'm just curious: are you planning to upgrade books, or have you been upgrading books? What was your favorite book that I've showed in this video? Do you have any type of videos you would like me to make in the future? I'm trying to get back in the swing of things, you know. I just been so busy with work and all that stuff. It's hard to, whenever I do have time, and it's just difficult for me to sit down and say, okay, what kind of video should I make this week or next week or whatever. I just don't have that kind of time anymore, and I haven't had it for a while, but things are starting to lighten up a little bit, and I want to start making a few more videos a month. Maybe not every week, but I want to do something more than just those haul videos, okay? But who knows, I might do another top 25 in my collection. I think I did that last year. I don't remember. But I try to like add new books to my collection that could take some top spots before I try doing that. But we'll see what happens. But again, thank you for watching and take care.